The science behind the tantrum. Think of the amygdala as the brain's smoke detector. It is always monitoring the environment for potential threats. And sometimes the alarm goes off when there's burnt toast, and not a real fire, in order to ensure we are safe. Think of the hypothalamus as someone deciding whether to put gasoline or water on the fire. Its job is to get your body ready to deal with a threat. It does so with hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. A tantrum is typically an example of a fight response. When your daughter suddenly starts wailing about sleeping by herself in her bed at night, she's likely not being difficult on purpose. Her amygdala detected a threat and her hypothalamus caused her to meltdown. A tantrum involves two parts of the brain. 1. The amygdala, which is primarily responsible for processing emotions like fear or anger. 2. The hypothalamus, which controls unconscious functions like heart rate and temperature. Its job is to keep the body stable and regulated. Threat or safety. Our brain's number one job is to keep us safe. If the amygdala assumes a threat, then, with the help of the hypothalamus, it goes into one of four responses: fight, flight, freeze, collapse. These are primitive responses to ensure our survival as a species. 1. We fight off the predator. 2. We run away, flight, from the avalanche. 3. Freeze to look for the nearest exit. 4. Collapse to play possum or not feel the pain of being eaten alive. The amygdala works overtime with young children, causing false activation. Because they are more vulnerable to danger, they have a more sensitive fear response. Their brain likes to play it safe and sets off false alarms more easily. During this stress response, your child might experience a racing heartbeat, increased breathing, sweaty palms and tense muscles, or just an overwhelming urge to yell or hit you. As much as you may want to reason with your child, don't expect her to listen. The FFFC response reduces a child's already limited capacity for self-control and emotion regulation, a function generally associated with the prefrontal cortex. Adults can apply what's called top-down processing, where they can use self-talk and logic to calm down the lower brain regions. This originates in the prefrontal cortex, i.e., telling ourselves it's going to be okay, and yelling will only make things worse. But the prefrontal cortex doesn't fully develop well into adulthood, into your late 20s to the early 30s. So when you try to reason with a tantruming child, you're trying to work with part of the brain that isn't fully functioning.